Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant. I've got Gary Judge with me from Across the Park podcast, and we're here on StreamYard. Hopefully, we'll be back, I think, next week in the studio. We're both a little bit, I imagine you're still chasing your tail a little bit, Gary, from the run, then the stag do, and then Vegas. So,
Just a bit, yeah. Just a bit.
How are you feeling?
Tired. Really tired. Yeah. You were saying before we started, jet lag's just a killer. Sorry, I was turning around then. The dog just decided to get a squeak toy up and start squeaking it. But yeah, no, I'm just tired. Just don't feel like feels like it's night, but it's day. Really jet lag in it.
I visited a mate a few years back in New Zealand, and I swear to God, the jet lag from that trip, mate, it lasted about a week. It was horrible.
That's something else, that like.
Yeah. But glad you had a good time, mate. Like I say, hopefully next week we'll be back in the workshop. But to kick things off then, bit of footy, bit of tennis, and then tiny bit of UFC. And you know what? I'll get the weird, horrible news out the way. I've seen this week in the Olympics, obviously a lot of talk about the Olympics as it starts very soon. So it's fucking horrible, this. I mean, it'd be interesting to know how you feel about it. Dutch Olympic bosses have had to come out and defend picking Steven van der Velde, who is convicted in 2016 for raping a young British girl who he groomed online. Now, he was sentenced to 4 years in the UK, but only done part of his sentence. Went back to Holland, and then because of their laws, didn't end up doing all of the time. So, you could argue, not even done his time, what he's been sentenced for in the UK. He's gone to Holland, he's a changed man now, apparently, and he's now been selected in the Dutch Olympics.
That is horrendous.
So, well, the Dutch Olympic bosses have come out now and defended him and said, you know, he's a changed man and things like that. But I mean, I don't know how people are going to feel watching the Olympics, knowing that a Steven van der Velde, when he was in the UK, groomed a young girl online. Was sentenced to 4 years, didn't do the 4 years, went back home, and now he's going to be going to the Olympics.
Well, I mean, I'm all for, rehabilitation and all that, but there's certain crimes that you just can't undo, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? The certain, because of the impact it has on the victim. I'm not saying he can't move on, but to be celebrated on that stage is just not right.
I agree. You can't. There are certain, crimes, if you like, where people, I think, can, change their lives and they can come back a better person. And they almost. There's that guy, isn't there? Actually, he does triathlon. He robbed a bank or something. A famous triathlon guy now. He does motivational speaking, and he does hold his hand up and say, "Look, I was robbing banks and things like that, and I was a bad guy. I've done my time in jail, and now he's like this motivational speaker, does Ironman triathlons." And I agree, there's certain crimes where you can be rehabilitated, in my opinion. But when you've groomed a young girl online, raped her, I don't think there's no way you should be allowed to go and represent your country in the Olympics.
No, absolutely not. And yeah, just morally, it's so wrong, isn't it? It's up there with the worst of crimes, isn't it? Murder is probably the only thing that tops it for me. Particularly because of the premeditated side of it, the fact it's groomed it.
It's crazy, mate. Yeah.
Get me head on there.
And then more enjoyable news, if you like, well not for Jiri. I don't know how you say his name. Prochazin, is it? Jiri, the guy who Pereira basically knocked the fuck out. I was going to say more, more lighter news, but obviously it wasn't good news for him. You were in Vegas. Did you get to watch it? Did you? Or?
Yeah. It was. I mean, I originally had tickets for the cards, but McGregor dropped out, and to be honest, if I'd paid more attention to the whole card, I probably would have still went. But it was one of them as well. My wife was with me, and probably it would have been a bit selfish of me having flew it out there to then drag us to the UFC as well. But nonetheless, we still watched the whole card amongst all the other stuff we were doing. It was, earlier on in the card, the very first fight, Talbot, he's only been seeing that knockout.
No.
That was the very first of the prelims. Young lad and extremely talented. He's going to go to the top. He's going to be a champion without doubt. If you look it up after the show, or anyone else who's watching it, Talbot with 2 T's. If you just put Talbot KO, you literally... I'd watched the highlight reel just before it started, and I'd heard a little bit about him. So I was like, I'm going to throw $100 here on a first round knockout. He literally walks up,
wow,
sets it up with a jab and just goes, boom, right on his chin, and just knocks him clean sparvo. And it was got our night off to a flyer, and it was they got the whole card off to a flyer, to be fair.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't see any of the card. I only saw the highlights of the Pereira's stoppage, and it was just what a stoppage it was. I mean,
yeah, it was some kick.
It was just some kick. I mean, I think he almost expects the referee to jump in once he's connected with the kick. He doesn't, so he just does a few hammer blows just to finish him off.
Yeah.
He was well and truly cooked from that head kick, and wow.
Yeah, that was enough. The kick was definitely enough, and yeah, it could. I mean, the referee should have stepped in. It could have got really bad. If he'd have actually stepped in with any real force, he kind of went till, I'm just giving the ref a chance here to just stop this before I seriously, there's no comeback for him. But yeah, it was, and up to that point as well, it was fairly over. It could have went either way. He was holding his own, but yeah, great way to end the bill as well. It ended as well as it started.
I think there's now talk as well of Pereira maybe going for a 3-weight world champion as well, which would be the first, I think. So I mean, I've seen him knock enough people out now. It's definitely capable of it. It'd be interesting to see if he does. Maybe we'll go on to a bit more things that we obviously know a little bit more about. Football. I think from last week, I don't think it's improved that much for England. It's probably arguably got worse, to be honest. Although
we've got through, haven't they? So, but yeah, I know what you mean. Performance-wise, it's been horrendous.
Yeah, and arguably got worse since performance. However, saying that, we are now in a quarter-final. It's funny, we said that last week how terrible England have been playing, but I actually said, I still think they'll go on and win it. It was on the 85th minute when we were 1-0 down, and I actually tweeted saying you can get 2 to 1 for England still to qualify. Call me mad, but I think it'll happen. That was 2 to 1. Lo and behold, a little bit of luck, falls to Bellingham, and he pops up, scores the overhead, and England don't look back. So you just can look back at my tweets if you don't believe me. I genuinely still think they're going to win it. I don't know why, because they are playing so bad, but I'm starting to liken them a little bit to Liverpool when Steven Gerrard was there. You've got a couple of decent players over the years. You had your Suarez's, you had your Alonso's, your Torres, Carragher at the back, Reina in goal. You had some great players, some world-class players, you could argue. But for a long period, Liverpool was shite. And the reason they were able to win things was because they had world-class players to step up when it mattered, like Steven Gerrard did so many times. And I think that's what this England team's like now. They've got a few world-class players in there who can win you a game, like it's been proven. But in general, they're a bit shit.
I'm not having it.
No,
I get it, and look, I've got to admire your optimism and to a certain degree the logic behind what you're saying, and I couldn't, wholeheartedly 100% argue it, because they have got a good enough set of players to for it to come together and for them to beat the top sides. But I'm just not having that a team that struggles, and they did struggle so much against Slovakia. It could have been 2-0 at half time. They had the better chances, and now you take Gay out of the team and the prospect of either putting Ezri Konsa in there, or even worse, Lewis Dunk at centre back in an area where they're already having problems. I look at France and think they haven't even got out of first gear, and Mbappe hasn't even kicked the ball yet. In terms of he scored a penalty, but that's it. I can't look past France now. Could you not argue though that France have only scored, I think, 1 goal from open play. I think they've had 2 penalties and an own goal. You could argue that England are just as bad as France, couldn't you? But so why are you backing France? I think for one, the XG would beg to differ. They're creating a lot more chances. They're rock solid at the back. They conceded 1 goal, I think, but teams don't look like they're going to score against them. I mean, Austria, who before last night were one of the best sides in the competition, struggled to create a chance against them. I just think they're very, very strong at the back and in midfield. And they've obviously got players in the forward areas who, like you say, with England, and I can't argue with that. England's have obviously got Bellingham, Foden, Kane, etc. They've got Mbappe, Griezmann. They've got players coming off the bench who again, Camavinga, who's in midfield, hasn't even had to come off the bench yet. They've just got so much depth in there, and they've got a manager who's been there and done it. They've won a World Cup before with that manager, with a very similar group of players. We haven't got over the line before. So, again, look, for your sake, and I know you've got obviously a lot at stake at it, and I know you've put your not put your neck on the line, but you've been consistent with your message that you just feel like it's England's year. But just the way it's unfolding, and it's just this sense of inevitability about the way the France are going about it. It's almost exactly the same way they played in the World Cup. No frills, but then it comes to the latter stages in the quarters, semis, and the big players just step up. And the rest of the players, the defenders and midfielders, just keep doing the job. For me... Go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. I agree what you're saying, and I can't knock anything you're saying about France, but I just think, it's interesting, isn't it, how we look at the Premier League or we look at kind of United over the years, and it's all about perspective. How often the teams win, or the top of the league, and they're playing crap, and you go, you know what, a good team just, wins when they're not playing well. Look, England haven't played well now for 4 games, yet they're in a quarter-final against Switzerland, and they're not playing well, they're playing terrible. If that was in the league, and you'd go, look, we're top of the league at Christmas, and we haven't even played well at all, you'd be made up, wouldn't you? But, yeah, there's still a bit of pessimism around this England team.
The big factor, mate, is you just compared England to Liverpool, and fair enough. Liverpool, in the times when you got over the line, had Rafael Benitez in his prime, Jurgen Klopp. That leader, that manager, is a huge factor. Didier Deschamps, as I said, been there and done it with France. Won the World Cup with them. They've won the Euros as well, I think, under Deschamps. But I think the manager's a big factor there. The players trust the manager. They trust the process. I'm not saying the players don't trust Southgate. I think they've backed him on enough occasions, but I think he's said and done some very odd things at times, and you can't look at his record and point to a game when we've beat the opposing team that on paper are better than us or even close to being as good as us. So I just don't think there's that real genuine belief in that England squad, particularly given the performances that they put in at the tournament so far.
It's funny, and I do completely agree in that sense, because I think, when Southgate come out and said about his Calvin Phillips remark, I think there's players in that squad that must have been thinking, what the fuck is he on about? Calvin Phillips? Yeah, so the only reason I kind of compared us to Liverpool is, you might not remember them as much as I do, being a blue, but I can remember so many games that, whether it was Suarez or Gerrard, I just literally took us over the line. You look at Olympiacos, Steven Gerrard pops up. You look at the final in Istanbul. You look at the West Ham final. There's so many games where Liverpool have stunk the gaff out and Gerrard just popped up and dragged them over the line. Just felt a little bit like Bellingham doing it the other night, Kane doing it. And I think that's where I can compare them. So, got some, 2 or 3 world-class players, if you like. But they're just not playing as a team. And I think arguably Liverpool did play as a team. That's why, they did get some success over the years. But they're not the greatest team, if you like, coming together. Got some great players, but they're just not playing like a great team. Yet they still got success. And I think that's my only hope with England, because it's unlikely now, 4 games in, Southgate's somehow going to pull a miracle and have us playing like Brazil. I get that. But I just think the luck of the draw, playing Switzerland in the next round and then probably Holland, I think, you only need a bit of magic from now in 3 games. That's it. Well, you could argue only 2, really. You should get past Switzerland. You're going to play probably Holland or France or Germany then in the final. Anything can happen over a couple of games. Over a season, you're not going to do it. I get that. But he's only actually got to play 2 really good teams. And I just think a player, star performances can drag you through a couple of games.
And with respect, you say 2 really good teams. It's only really 1, because Holland, with the exception of, Van Dijk and maybe, you're actually looking around that team going, there's not many players in that Holland team that get anywhere near the England team apart from Van Dijk. maybe Van der Ven, just because of the issues we're having at the back. You know, Depay, does Depay get in that? No chance. Does Gakpo get in the team? No chance. Does, Daniel Malin get in the team? No chance. So arguably, it's only one team, i.e. France, maybe Germany, that have got players that get anywhere near that England team. Switzerland, Granit Xhaka maybe gets in alongside Rice based on the season he's had for Leverkusen, maybe Freuler. But apart from that, there's nothing there. So I think it's probably only one team, but I think that one team, which I believe will be France, maybe Germany, I think will be more than good enough to beat this England team.
It is funny, isn't it? He's almost got himself in a situation of Southgate where, if they get beat, it's going to be one of the worst tournaments ever, because you think not just of them not winning it when they were favourites, but also the manner in how they played, and some of the performances have been utterly dire. And yet, if he wins it, it's going to be like, well, you played shite. You didn't really play anyone decent to the final. So he's on it and hiding to nowhere. And I don't think there's any way where Southgate can come out of this with some good press, because even if they do win it, like we just said, he's probably only played one decent team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if we win it, we're going to have to beat a France or a Germany. So I think that, although people will be quick to point out that they've had an easy route, I think if you win any international tournament or any tournament of this magnitude, you're going to get credit just on the basis that you've won. You can only beat what's in front of you, can't you? So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but I get what you mean. We could easily get to the final, which would be again, another huge achievement. But if we don't win it, you will get absolutely terrorised. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, it's again, and in typical fashion, the English media, they're just waiting, aren't they? They're just circling, waiting for that to happen. And you've already got the headlines ready. I mean, most of the journalists had the headlines ready during the Slovakia game, which, you've got to do that as a journalist, particularly when the chips are down the way they were. But even when England got the win, it was still mocking, headlines, wasn't it? It wasn't really like they dug it out and, come on England. It was, they were more taking the piss.
Yeah, big time.
So yeah, I mean, just looking past England briefly, because I think it's only fair to. I said it briefly on the last episode that I'd really enjoyed watching Spain, and again, they turned up the other night. Just so refreshing seeing a team of young players, team of exciting players. And the one thing that I watched Spain thinking was, look at the pace, look how much pace they've got on the break, and getting to. We've got none of that. England's got none of that, and I said it when they picked the squads, and I'm saying, I know I said it on here, even though Rashford didn't deserve to be in the squad based on merit, I felt that the raw pace he's got and the ability he's got to pull a rabbit out of a hat to shoot from outside the area, but more so to stretch the opposition, I felt he should have been in the squad. You look at the players he's bringing on or having to call upon, even Ollie Watkins, for example, who hasn't really kicked the ball. You're not telling me the other night that Rashford wouldn't have come off that bench given the circumstances. He's not playing Anthony Gordon. So why does he not seem to like pace? Yeah. It's the one thing for me that we're blatantly missing is players stretching the defence. And that's the one thing that I think that's really hindering Bellingham. You look at what he's got at Madrid and the way those wingers stretch the back line, create them pockets in between the lines. You can't get that because you've just got players coming into his space. Harry Kane's dropping deep. Foden's coming inside. Saka's coming inside. It's hard for them to play in there. So I know a lot of people are calling on Phil Foden to maybe be the 10. Anyone could play that 10 and they'd struggle because there's just no space in there. So that's the thing for me, just on calling on the Spain performance, it just blatantly exposed what England are lacking.
Yeah, it's a great point, that, to be fair. Yeah, it is so cramped in that middle, isn't it? Where Bellingham normally flourishes.
And I think the only player, for me, who's come out with a little bit of credit in the last 2 games has been Declan Rice. He looks like he's trying to take the game with a struggle. He's looked like he's trying to drive the team forward. But he's the only one with that slight luxury of having 20 yards of space to actually see the game. The rest of them are just all, condensing that space in front of them. But, yeah.
You mentioned Spain then, mate. I obviously fancy Germany, but I mean, it's going to be a cracker Friday night, isn't it? That first off kicks us off, Spain, Germany, and then it's France, Portugal. I mean, where do you see that one going? I mean, I agree with you, Spain have been brilliant, but I just think on home soil, I think Germany will do it. I
agree with you. I do still think Germany will get the job done. But I think what Spain have done, and credit to them, and the Germans have done it so many times down the years themselves, they went, you know what, we're going to field our youngsters knowing that the next World Cup is in sight. You know, Yamal's 18, Nico Williams is 20, 21. They fielded a lot of players that are in their early 20s, mid-20s, knowing that there's a bigger picture there. There's the next World Cup on the horizon. Maybe they're not going to win this one, but the experience of getting into the knockout, playing the likes of Germany, it is going to be worth its weight in goals. So I do agree with you. I do think the Germans will get it done, but I think it'll be an exciting game because these Spanish players don't fear nothing. You know, even going behind against Georgia, who've been a tricky opponent for a few teams, there was just not a hint of, panic about it. They just carried on playing the way they played and just picked them apart. And for me, it was the performance of the tournament so far. Bar the first 5 or 10 minutes when they went behind, they were just exceptional. And I think it'll be a great game on Friday, but I do agree with you. I still see the Germans going through it.
And then the other game, France-Portugal. Another tricky one, but again, we'll come on to Ronaldo in a second. But just on that game itself, I think France, I think it's setting up for a Germany-France final. Semi-final. I think France is going to be way too strong for what could potentially be a great Portugal team. But we'll come on to the Ronaldo issues, I think, in a minute. But I think France will be far too strong for them.
Yeah, particularly I think in that battle in the forwards area, you put Ronaldo up against two very, very athletic centre-backs in Saliba and Upamecano. I just don't see how he disrupts them two as a pair. They've got a decent midfield. Portugal got a lot of creative players, a lot of runners. But again, they're so strong at the back, and they've got like a unit of 6 players, France, where they play 2 holding midfielders, and I just can't see Portugal really causing them that many problems, genuinely. I think they might score, but yeah, I can't see them scoring more than one. And for that reason, I think France go through in probably a tighter game than the Germany-Spain game. I think it'll be a bit more attritional, a bit more tactical. But unfortunately, again, for Portugal, they picked the wrong manager. Roberto Martinez has only got one way of playing. And I don't think against the France team, as experienced as they are, and with the manager they've got, I don't think that's going to be enough. Plan A is not enough. So, I think France will come through, and probably a tighter one, maybe 1-0, 2-1, something like that.
Mate, did you manage to see Portugal's performance, Ronaldo and all that?
Yeah, I did. I was a bit jaded, but yeah, I did see it, and then watched it back. I didn't catch extra time, but I watched extra time back. Do you know what? I think I've heard a few people talking about this. He looked very charged from the get-go, Ronaldo. I think in his head, and I'm sure he's been saying this in the changing room. You heard a lot of stories about when they won the Euros last time, Portugal, and it was literally like Ronaldo was the manager. Remember when he came off injured and he was on the touchline, basically, like a cheerleader cheering him on. I think for him, this is almost like, look, this is my last half of Portugal. I'm going to drag them as far as I can. And obviously, in missing that penalty, I think it all came to the fore, didn't it? The emotions of thinking not only could my country go out in my last game, it could be me that's not got them through, or it's my fault. Yeah. And you know what? I've got nothing but utter respect for Ronaldo, honestly, and I can't imagine the emotion he's feeling given what he's given to not only Portugal, but what he's given to the game. And then thinking this could be the last big tournament I ever play in. He's obviously playing in Saudi now. I can't realistically see him coming back to Europe. And if he does, is it going to be for a team that's going to compete at the very top end of football? I don't think so. So, all the people talking about he's crying and what type of message. You know what? I think it just sends a message of how important it is to him. And in society where we're trying to say, look, it's all right to cry and show emotion as a male, with them mocking someone who's showing his emotion. I'm not into that. If anything, I think it shows how human he is and how much it means to.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you slightly. I do agree that it's great showing emotion and stuff like that. But I'm just thinking, I think as a leader, is that what you need to be doing as a leader? Yeah, be emotional, but you've got young players there looking up to you. You've been there, seen it, done it. You've won this trophy before. You've won every honour in the game. I'd like to see a bit more leadership qualities of keeping your shit together, having your moments, when the final whistle. But The fact of the matter was there was still half an hour to go. It's not as if
Did
it's not as if
he not keep his shit together though? He still played.
Not at the
Still
time.
played well after that. Still played well after that. I mean, I get what you mean. Look, if he gets up, obviously the way he does, and then he gets a yellow card after it, or he completely loses the plot, then fair enough. But he's kept his shit together, and then he scored a penalty in the shootout. You know, to pick yourself up from that position of being so, you know, demoralised or whatever, but then to keep it together, to not get booked, to not lose his head, and then to score a penalty in the shootout when it really mattered.
I just think those emotions that you'd almost kind of say fair play for, you know, for crying, if you like, and it shows how much you care. You'd expect to see them if his kick had sent them home. You know, the fact of the matter is they still had half an hour to play, so I just would have thought, come on, keep yourself together a bit more. Come on, you're still in this. And I think that comes from, and this is where it's a bit subjective and I may be being a bit harsh, but I think it was just more about him. It was like, this is my moment to shine, and I fucked it up. I think it was less about the team and more about him. And I think that shows because, like I just said, they had half an hour left. There was still every chance he would have went through. But I think he was just so upset that he didn't have his moment in the sun to be like, look at me, I've done it again. I've won us the game.
Maybe, but that's the player that he is. And I don't think anyone in that team would deny him with that. It's like, that's what you get with that player, and you get both sides of it, both as a leader and as a player.
True.
If you have someone like that on your team, you know when he's going to step up, you know what he's going to do, you also know what he's not going to do, and that's the team's dynamic, isn't it? I think everyone in that dressing room goes, well, if I can have half the career that man's had, still be doing what he's doing in his late 30s, then I'll be happy. And you only have to look at the way that they react to the whole set piece situation. No one gets a kick on a set piece, including Fernandez.
That was mad. That was a bit mad. That wasn't
it. I don't know. I mean, I looked at the two free kicks that were in the best areas. The first one that flashes over the bar is inches away, and and then the second one, I don't know anyone in the world who can hit a ball as cleanly as he hit that. Yeah, obviously it's straight down the keeper's throat. But, you've got Fernandez, as you say, who's outstanding from set plays. You've got other players on there who certainly would back themselves to hit the target and to cause problems. But not one of them even shows a hint of, frustration at not getting the chance. That tells you a lot, I think, about how much respect they've got for him. And look at it whatever you want, whether it's that they know there's no point in arguing because he is the man. I don't know, but it works for them. He's already dragged them to one Euros. He's I wouldn't say he's dragged them to this one, but he still played almost every minute. And I think
there's definitely respect there, but I also think there's a little bit of fear as well because, like you just said then, he is almost like the manager. You remember the last one, I think the World Cup or the last Euros, he's almost on the side of the pitch, geeing everyone along. I do think there is that something that Roberto Martinez is probably a little bit not as experienced in at dealing with players like Ronaldo because, I mean, that is a big personality, isn't it? And I think the players are almost, if I piss him off, he's going to speak to the manager. I might not be playing. I think there's definitely that feel about it where you can't get on the wrong side of him. The one positive thing I will say about him is I thought if he waits and takes the last penalty, he definitely is just trying to make it about himself. I think the fact he thankfully, turned the kind of leadership switch back on, took the first one. I thought, thank God for that, because I thought if you're just waiting to kind of get the glory, I thought, fucking hell.
That's what I mean, though, and that's my perception of it. It takes some kahunas still having missed that penalty, having cried after missing it, and go, you know what, I'm taking the first one. I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to show everyone that I can put that behind me, and that should make everyone else think, well, if he can do that, having nearly been, on his knees, then let's follow suit. So again, look, I get the narrative around some people saying, well, as you just said, look, it's not effective leadership. Some of his experience can hold it together. For me, I just think it shows that regardless of your age, your experience, it still means more to him than everyone.
No, yeah. And so off that, mate, into things closer to home, like Liverpool and Everton. What I will say, mate, I was at a dinner last week and I was sat next to a few people who worked for Everton. And you were just talking about the ground. I can't remember that I mentioned this to you, maybe on last week's pod, or might have been
No.
someone else I was speaking to. But they're working on the ground, and it pains me to say this, but it's pretty special what they're working on. They've been tasked with going to Tottenham's ground a few times. They've been out in America a few times, trying to encapsulate this kind of new way of going the ground, not like the way kind of I do, for example, where
we spoke about this, didn't we? We spoke about the match day experience, yeah.
Yeah, and it's very centered around that, and it sounds exciting, mate. It's about trying to bring Everton into the kind of new age, if you like, of what going the match, can and should be like.
It's a lot of sports. We spoke about it, didn't we? About we both been to American sports events, in the States, and the way that's a thing. It's a family experience. It's an interactive experience, and it should mean, and this is where the Americans do it so well. It should mean that almost regardless of the results, you just have a great day.
Yeah,
and that's particularly important to Evertonians because we often don't get the results. But yeah. It's I've seen and heard that myself, but I'm it's nice that you've took that on and not took it on through tinted glasses.
No, it sounds. I mean, I'm from. Listen, it's a business at the end of the day, and the idea is to get the customers in and around the business for as long as possible. So it's this whole idea of Evan of looking at it, and I thought, right, before kind of the new pubs start popping up all down the Dock Road, let's create decent bars, decent pubs, almost in the ground, like different spots in the ground where you can come, and hopefully it'll be affordable, food and drink, and it's just making that match going experience centered around the ground, and come in here a couple of hours early, leave a couple of hours late. Don't shoot off straight into town. Stay around the ground, and it sounds like it's going to be set up for exactly that. So it sounds like it's took you a while, but you're finally kind of jumping to like how to make money commercially and not just through buying and selling players. I think this is the next big step for Everton, and the people I was speaking to seem really confident on. It's going to be going well for them.
Yeah, and apparently that was a big draw for the new owners. Is that they seen that they were encouraged that they're not going to have to rip things apart to bring the club into the new age. That there was a lot of positive steps that have been taken. A lot of them, admittedly, have centered around the new stadium and the plans for the new stadium, but. For them, it's going, well, look, this is ready-made. This is ready-made for it to become a franchise similar to what we've got in the States and it to become a, really self-sustainable business. And that's something that Everton have not been for a long time, not just before Machete come in, but, going back to Bill Kenwright and, and previous owners before that, Peter Johnson. It's always been the owners or the chairman having to try and find money by hook or crook, weird little niche sponsors that ends up leaning and we're getting the piss taken out of us or whatever, weird little deals that go on, or even worse, selling your biggest assets. But you only have to look at the moments of the activity, or so far there's some of the fact that we've resisted bids for Jared Branthwaite. We've stuck to our guns and saying we want 70 million for him, and that's with trust that coming down the line we are in a position to be able to stand on our own 2 feet without selling our biggest assets.
I think one change that will need to be made, though, is from the fans. And I think this whole idea, what you've kind of given Liverpool a bit of stick for over the years, having this international fan base from all over, Norwegians and that. I think, listen, it's part of success of Everton. So you want to grow off the field commercially, you are going to have to be open for the kind of tourist fans coming and spending the money in the club shop, all that kind of stuff which Everton have mocked Liverpool for. I think if you do want to have this new ground and all these new great experiences, that's something you're going to have to almost welcome as well.
Yeah, listen, I'll take the day trippers if they're gonna fill the coffers up for the manager and buy us our players and help us to be successful. I'll take the day trippers all day long. And what I would say to any match going fan, and we get it from you, and this is the bit that I'll take the stick from the Reds who are listening to this or watching this. What frustrates me is when you moan, we couldn't get this ticket, we couldn't get that ticket. If you go home and away games, you're getting tickets. Where your club have let you down is when they've allowed other people, day trippers, to get tickets ahead of the home and away fans. Everton have always had a very good ticketing policy. If you can keep that ticketing policy, i.e. and allow fans to go to big games when they've went to home and away, then I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. The bit that will really get to me if it starts to become, well, it's the highest bidder type thing. There's these tickets that are £400, £500, and you can buy them, and then the fans who really put in the work and spent the money all season long miss out. But I genuinely believe if you've got a good ticketing policy, you just take all that stuff that that we take the piss out of use for on the chin. I just think it's frustrating to use sometimes, and I've got obviously a lot of mates, including yourself, that go to a lot of games, invest in the club heavily, and then are not able to get tickets for the big games when they deserve them because of a weird little ticketing policy or some kind of membership that someone's bought into because they paid more money than the next fan. So
no, you're right on that.
But look, just to take that. Listen, we do take the piss out of us, but that a lot of that, admittedly, is born from jealousy, isn't it? We haven't had the success you've had, and at times we haven't in seasons gone by even filled our own stadium. So at the moment we're doing that. Hopefully we will be able to fill the new stadium, but I think if we're going to fill it on a regular basis, there's going to be a percentage of tourists, of day trippers. But like I said, if they can help us make the club more sustainable and financially, and they're only going to spend more money on the ground, then so be it.
And with Liverpool, mate, the news coming out of Liverpool this week, which I'm excited for, is the first press conference is on Friday, so you get a proper look at Arne's slot and the kind of questions that the national media, if you like, are going to throw at him. So quite excited to see him and to hear what his kind of plans are, if you like. Obviously, the kind of unveiling that he did with Liverpool and all the questions in club, so they're obviously going to be a lot nicer on him. I think hopefully some of the questions are a bit sterner for him, and just to see how he comes through it. Really, I'm interested to see that. And there hasn't been the only news I saw on Liverpool's transfers. You mentioned before about how Everton are kind of staving off some of the bids for players. It's the Anthony Gordon one, which is really interesting because there was news on Diaz going to Barcelona. You had Gordon, almost everyone's clamouring for him to play. Everyone's thinking, what will he be like? Apparently supported Liverpool when he was a kid. But straight away, as this talk of Anthony Gordon started, Gakpo plays brilliant coming in off the left. And you think, I'd have Diaz there anyway. But you're thinking a Dutch manager comes in, Gakpo's playing well in this tournament, coming in off the left. Diaz potentially going to Barcelona. I don't even think Anthony Gordon gets a look in if the new manager's looking at Diaz and Gakpo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, despite the whole sourness of when Gordon left, I still think he's a top player, and I think he would have suited Jurgen Klopp more than Arne Slot, if I'm honest, just his work rate off the ball and his tenacity. But I don't really see that. For me, I agree with you. I think he's going to be massively into Gakpo just because of the Dutch link, and there's probably going to be a bit of a, I'm not saying he's going to shower the team with Dutch players, because I think you look at what Ten Hag's done and think, probably not the best model. And not many teams have been successful with a host of Dutch players. Maybe one or two, like the likes of Van Persie and Bergkamp and so on, but you don't generally get that far with filling your team with Dutch players. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Gakpo, I was saying to a few of the lads on our WhatsApp group before, the Reds, he's been playing well. And then one of the lads straight away popped up and went, but you're playing against teams he's been playing against are basically championship teams. He's drifting in off the left. You've got to probably accept that as well. I mean, the game last night, that first goal was just embarrassingly easy. Lucky, it's a good finish.
Keeper should have handed off the near post, though, shouldn't he?
Yeah. And then the other point is that a few of my mates pointed out, it was like Klopp never ever played him off the left. It seems like that's his best position. He's never been played there. And you raised the point of, look, that's Diaz's position. So it's already a conundrum or a problem for the manager to solve, isn't it? I don't know, can Diaz play off the right? I don't know. I haven't seen him enough. I'm sure he can, but yeah, it's I think the press conference will be interesting, and I think the business, if any, is done, will be interesting. I think you're right in saying he's going to wait until the Euros is finished, but it feels very late to me, that. It really does. Middle of July, maybe the business gets done towards the end of July, start of August. That's quite late, that, in a pre-season cycle. But particularly if you're going to bring 2-3 players in, I have a feeling that there's going to be very little business done by Liverpool this summer. And the manager or coach, if you call him that, has been almost told, look, take what you've got, assess it. We're going to give you time, but you assess what you've got first, and trust that some of the players we bought, particularly the younger ones, are assets of the club, and we want you to try and nurse those assets and develop them.
And I agree. I think it's difficult as well with the Euros being on. He's coming into a job. I think it's difficult anyway. As big as Liverpool, you're replacing Klopp, which makes it even harder. Half your players aren't going to be there while you're doing your planning and your prep for the pre-season. I mean, it is a tough one for him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. The last one on footy, really interesting story. Don't know if you've seen in the news. There's a guy, Rui Pinto. So he was basically he's a whistleblower, and he's trying to expose Man City's criminality by releasing a load of hacked emails that he's got his hands on. In the past, he's exposed big stories like Ronaldo when he paid, I think it was $200,000 or $300,000 to an American woman who claimed that he raped her. He found that story out. He's also the one that broke a lot of the Spanish players who were avoiding tax. So he basically hacks into your emails, finds out all this information, and then puts it out there to the world. But he's just been charged.
Hey, what's your emails, mate?
Oh yeah, he's just been charged with 237 charges, and he's got himself a life in witness protection for everything he's done. He did, however, win the 2019 European Whistleblower Award. Don't know how proud he is of that.
What?
Now that it's got him.
Is that a thing, is it? The Grass Award?
2019 European Whistleblower, aka the Big Fat Grass Award. He won that in 2019. So, I mean...
Sorry, so before we go past that, is there a Wales version of it? If he's won the European one,
I'm guessing so.
Automatically qualify for the World Cup. Whistle and grasses.
He was actually joint winner, so I don't know who else won it with him, but it was 2019. So Rui Pinto, he's been threatening all week that he's going to release all these Man City emails that are going to incriminate them even more. So if anyone wants to Google him, Rui Pinto, he might be dropping some emails for witness protection program somewhere. So keep an eye out for that.
When's this coming out?
It was just the news this past week. So I mean, if he's going to drop anything, I mean, keep your kind of eyes on Twitter.
That little Michael Jackson gif where he's eating the popcorn.
Rui Pinto, his name is, mate. So yeah, keep your eye out.
How many DMs have you sent him?
I'm actually going to Google him after this and try and start following him. I mean, we'll finish off just a few minutes on tennis. So it's obviously Wimbledon started this week, and bromance of the tournament started already. You've got Ronnie O'Sullivan was invited into Novak Djokovic's box, and basically Novak's turned around. He said the only reason I watch snooker is when Ronnie's playing, and vice versa. So there's some mutual respect from to go to the sport there between Djokovic and Ronnie O'Sullivan. And Novak, despite having a serious knee injury, he had surgery, I think it was 4 weeks ago. He went through in straight sets, 3-0, I think it was 6-2, 6-3, 6-2, I think. He's wearing a knee brace, but the knee brace didn't seem to stop him at the moment. So he's gone through Novak. Alcaraz and Medvedev also went through in straight sets, although Sinner did win 3-1 in the first rounds. So
Medvedev's playing today as well.
Yeah, it's obviously we're recording Wednesday, so all the big hitters are playing now the second round. Again, you'd fancy most of them to go through again in straight sets. Big news this week was Andy Murray. He's pulled out of the singles at Wimbledon. He is still going to play in the doubles with his brother. And he was also going to play in the Olympics, which he still is in the singles, which makes me believe that the Olympics will be him kind of bowing out. Gutted that he won't be able to play singles at Wimbledon, but it's nice that he gets to play his last game on Wimbledon, in a doubles game with his brother. So, I mean, not the ending he wanted, but I'm sure if he wins the doubles with his brother at Wimbledon centre court, I mean, that'll be just as nice, surely.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Judy Murray can pipe down now, can't she? Because he didn't actually play in Wimbledon. Well,
exactly.
Playing the singles anyway.
Yeah, so she was half right, wasn't she? The medical reporter, right. And then Emma, again, this is Wednesday, so if she's knocked out by Friday, don't blame me. But Emma, she actually got quite lucky. She was due to face a 22nd seed in the opening round, who then pulled out.
I was maybe she got beat. I just seen her.
No, so Raducanu, who's still now, she's way out the top 100. She was due to face the 22nd seed, which would have been a tough match. But the 22nd seed pulled out with an illness. So she then played Renetta Zarazua, who's ranked 98. She did win 2-0 in the set, but it was quite a difficult match. I think one set was a tiebreak. So she's come through it, and now she's playing someone who's ranked 33rd in the world. So a much stiffer test for her now. So it'll be interesting to see by Friday when you listen to this whether she's still playing. Hopefully she is.
As you said, she's in confident mood, isn't she? So no, she's got every chance. She's in that mindset really. Just a brief nod that I always back him or kind of follow him during the big one, and I just hope Zverev can get it done. I know you're obviously massively about Djokovic. Zverev's just come so close in so many majors, finals, etc. He's had a decent season again. I'd love to see him get it done.
Yeah, I think Sinner for me is the one to keep an eye out for. I think with Novak's injury, I think Novak's injury is going to be tough for him. I think Sinner, although like I say, he never won in straight sets like all the other big ones did. I think he's ranked number 1 at the moment. I think it'll be. I think he's due a good tournament. So yeah, mate, that's what I'll be doing now. As soon as we stop recording, I'll be throwing Wimbledon on watching that. So it's all good.
I'll be feeding my dog, I think, because he's squeaking his toy game. You know, he's definitely one.
I'll let you go and do that, mate. But thanks again, Gary, mate. Thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you all next week.